If you could build the perfect golf course, where would you place it? Maybe out west, where the colors green and blue seem to go on forever. By a beach? How about a rocky shoreline? Or a forest? Would your par threes give you magic?
Oh! Go in.
What about the fours?
Oh!
Or the fives? Well, maybe you don't have to build a golf course at all. Just head west. West to Pebble. It's perfection.
And good morning, welcome inside Studio AP. Gary Williams, Charlie Reimer. Charlie, I can't think of a better way to kick off Pebble Beach Week than those beautifully crafted words from Damon Hack, supported by the images of a place that you and I love to death.
Absolutely. He ended there with Pebble Beach is perfection. And you know what? Even in the rain, it's perfection. I remember the first time I played in the AT&T was my rookie year on tour. And like this week, there was a lot of rain, a lot of bad weather. In fact, the golf courses were closed for even practice rounds. I went over to Spyglass, and they wouldn't let me walk on the golf course. I could walk on the cart path. Now, I don't know if that rule applied to everybody else or just me, but I got to walk it for the first time in the rain on a cart path. Just fell in love with, you know, we talk a lot about Pebble Beach. It's a national treasure, no doubt about it. But if you go over to Monterey, if you go over to Spyglass, I mean, these are amazing golf courses when the sun's out, and they're fun to play when it's raining too.
Yeah, and if you somehow find your way on Cypress Point,
That's happened
once. As good a walk as it gets. We're going to be going out there live. We've got a lot to do over the next 2 hours. We're going to be with you until noon. But for now, let's say good morning. Hello, Bailey Mosier.
Good morning, Gary. Nice to have you back from the Super Bowl. Hope it was a wonderful time. Yes, I have your top stories here on this Thursday, February 9th. So we began round one of the Maybank Championship. It finished up this morning in Malaysia, where Mark Warren leads by 2 at 9 under par. He carded 7 birdies and an eagle to shoot a bogey-free 63 in his opening round. And lurking nearby is 2016 Masters champion Danny Willett. He's tied for 3rd at 6 under par after opening with a 66. And some big news came out yesterday afternoon. U.S. Ryder Cup captain Jim Furyk announced changes to the qualification system for the 2018 Ryder Cup, including 3 captain's picks will be made after the Dell Technologies Championship, and the final pick will be made after the BMW Championship instead of the Tour Championship, which was the case last year. So changes were also made to distribution of points, as Furyk stressed how much he values winning.
It allows me to, one, I think, evaluate. It gives me 3 weeks and at least 2 events, the first 2 playoff events, to identify 3 players that I'd like to add to the team. It gives them 3 more weeks and 2 more tournaments, the BMW and Tour Championship, for those folks to bond with the team, to play more practice rounds, to go to dinner, to basically be together. I really value winning. I want the guys that hit shots down the stretch, that you know, have the guts, the fortitude, the game to win golf tournaments, and I find winning very, very important. And so winning a PGA Tour event with a strong field, to me, is more important than finishing 3rd at a major championship.
Now, we will have more reaction on Ryder Cup changes later this morning, but now on to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week, which is not quite as pleasant as we would all hope it to be, but I know Charlie says even when it's raining, it is beautiful. But especially for those on site, blustery conditions earlier in the week. As we take a look at the forecast for this weekend, it's a 100% chance of rain today, 50% tomorrow, with cool temperatures all 4 days. At least there is some sunshine in the forecast for Sunday's final round. So those were your top stories. Now let's take a look at some social media going on, what the guys on site are getting into. We have this from Jimmy Walker. He says, you know this location. Of course we all do. AT&T, you have to get a photo there if you ever get to play Pebble Beach. From Luke Donald, no sound here, but he has the emojis, the blowing. You can see his pants. It's very windy out there this week. This is at Monterey. He said 170 yards, a 4-iron. And another tweet for you, Kevin Chappell's on site when the weather is bad, but you have work to do. So there he is getting in putting practice in advance of this week. So much more social media throughout the show. But now, Damon, we say good morning. Send it over to you.
All right, Bailey, thank you. Good morning. With a man who's competed at Pebble 12 times. He's seen all types of weather. Chris DeMarco, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good, doing good.
Great to be with you. I love this place as much as anyone. Great hearing from Gary and Charlie. We want to see sunshine, but we're going to have rain today, 100% chance. Yeah. What area of the golf course do you think will be most affected by rain?
You know, when you get out on the peninsula out there and you get to number 8, number 9, and number 10 where there's nothing blocking the wind,
right?
Those holes get so hard, especially when the wind's coming the way it's coming. It's going to be coming straight into the face on 9 and 10, a little out of the right.
That's prevailing.
And in on number 8. So you're going to hit a good shot on number 8 to get it to the fairway. Then you're going to have this shot over the whole ocean that you have to hit. And then you step up on number 9. And because, well, 8 here we see it. You can see the, you hit it up there. You aim at that house in the background. But once you get to the top there, again, it's going to be so soft. Probably lift clean in place today, I would imagine, because it's so wet. So you know you're going to have a good lie. You still have this unbelievable shot from 170 to 190 yards, into the wind, off the right. Going to be anywhere from a 3-iron to some type of hybrid for these guys. You get on the green, and then you turn around and you go right back into the wind on number 9. And number 9 at 495 yards, there's a hill that we'll see. You see the left bunker over here that goes down. When it's firm and fast, you can get down that hill and hit a 9-iron or an 8-iron into that green, especially some of the longer hitters. Well, when it's wet, you're not going to get down that hill, so your ball's going to stop, and you're going to be hitting some type of really, really hard shot. You'll see how we get over this hill right now. A really, really difficult shot. Probably here is where a lot of the balls are going to stay, and then you're going to see this to this green, which obviously not much room right with the ocean being over there, and then a big deep bunker on the left, and a very, very difficult green, which pitches really, really tough from back to front and to the right towards the ocean.
This is such a crucial stretch of holes. These par 4s, maybe the meatiest part of the golf course, would you say? The 10th or the 9th?
When the wind blows like this, I almost play these holes as 3 par 5s in a row.
I believe it.
And if I can make 2 birdies and a par, maybe play those holes 1 over par and get through that stretch at 1 over par, that's a plus. I mean, number 10, obviously, straight into the wind. You can I can hit at those bunkers today and not get to them, but I've hit driver 3-wood into number 9 and number 10 before. And anybody who's played Pebble Beach, number 9 and 10 are not 3-wood second shots. They're not. They're so difficult. It's just, you can make pars. You survive through the stretch, and then obviously once you get to number 12, the wind turns back around. You get some holes.
You got to hit driver off of 9 and 10, though, do you not?
Oh, absolutely.
You do.
Driver 3-wood for me.
You can't hide.
You cannot hide there. You got to hit good shots.
Good stuff. More on wet greens with
shots.
Chris a little bit later. Let's say good morning once again to Gary and Charlie. Guys?
Damon, why don't we take our pick? Because with the conditions being the way that we think they're going to be, Charlie, there are some players that you have identified in this field that you think are well suited to handle the wet conditions. Maybe attitude, maybe their length. So let's take a look at a few of these when we look at some of these groups. Let's start with Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson. Now, you know, a lot of people talk about how Jordan doesn't have the length of a Dustin Johnson. He's long enough. But what about these two players?
Well, I wish you could combine these two players and make a hybrid. If you did, nobody else would ever have a chance.
Be a witch.
Right, you got Dustin Johnson, who I think is the best in the business off the tee, the power game, and then Jordan Spieth. Again, he's not a short player, but he's not a dominant player off the tee. He is by far the best in the business on and around the greens. So the question is, under tough conditions, do you take length or do you take someone who you know is going to be rock solid scrambling around? I think when the conditions get nasty, the length is sort of mitigated a little bit, and that longer player is going to be forced to scramble. That gets them out of their comfort zone. For that reason, I like this guy right here, Jordan Spieth, when the conditions get tough.
How about the fact that his attitude? He loves every single shot as a competition. So I like your angle there. Let's take another one. Take your pick on this group right here. Smiley Kaufman and Phil Mickelson. Phil, we know his record around there. Heartbreaking that he missed that short putt. Would have gotten him in a playoff last year.
Well, and I'm going with Phil in this situation because I'm going with the experience. I mean, Smiley obviously is a heck of a player, winner on tour now. Phil has a lot of rounds all over the world in unbelievable conditions. He's an Open champion. And you know, the thing about Phil deal is he experiments with everything in his bag. You know, we know about him, winning the Masters with 2 drivers in the bag and trying to play a U.S. Open with no drivers in the bag. But it goes to all parts of his game. So he's experimenting with what he wears. We'll see him if it gets really nasty wet out there, going to those 2 gloves. And he's a guy that, because he's experimented and he's got a lot of tournament experience with all of this stuff, when it really, really gets tough, I think that he's the guy.
Okay, take your pick. These 2 guys have probably played in conditions like this, maybe more than anybody growing up where they did. But first of all, I want to know why you chose this particular group, and then specifically which one you're going to choose.
Well, the Irishman. I've spent a lot of time in Ireland, and I love Ireland, but you play in the wind and the wet and the cold, and so growing up in and around that, you have to have an appreciation. If you're going to get to the top of the game, you have to deal with those kind of conditions. But I'm going with Harrington. I haven't spent any time with Shane Lowry. I'm sure he's got a great attitude, but Harrington, he's one of these guys that he's going to talk himself into a tough day. Really, really benefits me. He's a positive guy, as you'll find. He's an honest guy, but the 3-time major champion in tough conditions, I'm going with him.
Okay, very good. So those, a little take your pick early on this Thursday. But for now, let's send it back over. And I know, Damon, you're going to challenge Matt Janella about a few things. Are you not?
You got that right. But I tell you one thing, though. Since 1919, probably not a better place to watch the sunrise than Pebble Beach. That, of course, the year it opened. And what if you want to go? Yeah, we like watching the pros play, but we want to play golf ourselves. So we turned to Matt Janella this morning. The ultimate Pebble Beach itinerary. Can you draw one up for us?
I can.
Ultimate, like money is no object here.
Of course I can.
Okay.
First of all, just how good is that view?
That's the best.
Pebble Beach. Being a Northern California guy, this is like one of my favorite weeks of the year. But
I believe you.
And I get asked this a lot. The ultimate Pebble Beach itinerary, sort of sparing no expense, obviously starts with
Pebble Beach.
Yes.
I mean, no. Well, number 1.
Pebble Beach, Pasatiempo. I always put Pasatiempo in this because if you're flying in from San Francisco or San Jose, you want to catch Pasatiempo, an Alistair McKinsey design available to the public for $240 on the front or back end of your itinerary, or both, if you will. And we've done a lot of stories about Pasatiempo and their struggles with watering this golf course. Well, that's not an issue anymore up in Northern California.
It is so good, and I completely agree. If you fly in there, it's perfect. We all talk about how busy lives we lead. You could hit Pasa on the way to Pebble.
Correct. Spyglass, of course, we know about. Bayonet is another very good golf course in the area. Very good. Poppy Hills. How about the easiest golf course on this, the most scoreable golf course on this list? That would be Pebble Beach, by the way. And if you want to add, a 6th or 7th, I would go 2 rounds at Pasatiempo, by the way. You can play both in one day for $360 and then add Black Horse onto Bayonet. You can play both those golf courses for $195.
Now, I know you interact a lot with the viewers. What are you hearing, when you put this type of information out?
Well, anytime we talk Pebble Beach and we talk it being the best public course in the country, people take issue with it being a public golf course because it's $495, okay. $525 during the months of September and October. It's the best course if you're so wealthy. The money is meaningless. Good value for that meaningless $525. I get it. It's very much of a bucket list experience. Yeah. I do say there are other $500 golf courses in the country that don't deliver the Pacific Ocean, 7 of the greatest holes in the world, all those spectacular moments. So at least when you go to Pebble Beach and you're spending that kind of money, you're going to get your money's worth. That's in my opinion.
You should add affordable. Every one of these courses are well beyond the average person's pay scale, says Coach.
Yeah, well, the good news is we do have the ultimate Pebble Beach itinerary that is value itinerary. It doesn't include Pebble Beach. So Pebble Beach is $495, $525 during September and October. I'm going to give you 5 courses to play in the Pebble Beach area for $525. You're just not going to play Pebble Beach.
All right, I know you're on Twitter all morning long. What's your Twitter question of the day?
Well, we want to know what's your favorite place to take a picture at Pebble Beach. I've got about 25 places I like, but my favorite is actually that 8th fairway. I love that flyover that we saw early in the show. You and Chris were showing that. When you get up to that fairway and you really get that look at the 8th green, but then span down the 9th hole all the way down to the 10th green, that to me is my favorite.
Good stuff, Matt. More from you later. Tee sheet time. We send it to Bailey.
You know, Pebble can be a value golf course. You just have to get somebody else to pay for it. That's, oh, did you hear that laughter in the background? Yes, all right. Time now for your morning drive tee sheet on this Thursday. We are going inside the locker room with Justin Leonard, the 1997 Open champion and 1999 Ryder Cup hero who sank that 45-foot birdie putt to complete that remarkable comeback by the U.S. squad. He will be in studio today, and we'll get his thoughts on some of the most pressing topics in the golf world right now, including Ryder Cup changes and Tiger Woods. And our Golf Channel Academy coaching series, it continues. No, it's not Halloween, not even close, but we do have a skeleton in the building that will be making its way to the simulator to help you hit shots like Ben Hogan. How in the world is that all going to make sense? Well, you and I will both have to stay tuned to find out. And in hour 2, Matt Janella, he's going to check in with a pair of underwater adventure seekers. This duo goes diving for golf balls off the coast of Pebble Beach, which is hosting, of course, this week's PGA Tour event. So what treasures, besides some brand new Pro V1s, do they find? Well, that's on the way later this morning. Gary, take us to break.
Okay, why not with that? Whether it's walking the beach in Carmel, or sitting at a fire pit out at Spanish Bay, or being in the tap room. And if you're in Manhattan, daydream that you're there because you're covered in snow. We're back after this.